Okay, and the first step is always closing the eyes, just landing in the here and now, wherever you are, finding a comfortable position, finding the space for exploration, and just allowing the weight to drop so that we come into presence, so that we come into the moment. And in a way, we consciously decide to step into an exploration and to dedicate a certain time for exploring in a safe space of our own creating. And in whichever position you are right now, feel also the contact with the ground. And allow the weight to drop to the ground. And tune into your own breathing. Gently take the breath in through the nose and breathe out through the nose or the mouth. Slowly settling, enjoying a good breathing. And you can put the palms of your hands on your body, whichever place calls you. And just feel the warmth of the palms. You know, giving yourself time to enjoy the touch. And let this feeling of enjoyment be your guide, where to put the hands, how much pressure to apply. And feel that whenever you touch the body, a meeting occurs, a touching place, where your palms are touching a certain area and this area is touching the palm. It's a two-way process. And you use this touch to awaken the body, to bring cessation to it, to bring life and motion and energy. And just spend a little time exploring. And go with the touch through the whole body and try to trace this outer container of your body. So your body has a certain shape, and you can look at it as a container. And just with the touch, trace the container. Feel the muscles, feel the bones. Feel all these cavities that are being contained inside your skin and your skeleton. The cavity of the head, cranium, with all the curves. The neck, thoracic cavity, tracing the form, feeling the form, feeling the volume. Abdominal cavity, the belly. Pelvis. And arms and legs. Take your time, enjoy, play. Stay around with the places which you enjoy more, but make sure you visit all the places. And how touch can help us awaken and become aware of this architecture of the body, a basic human form that we have with limbs, head, torso, abdomen. Feeling the outer container. And as you take a deep breath, feel how this container is widening. And as you exhale, it is condensing a little bit. How it responds to our external breathing. And try to move this container through the space where you are. Moving the container and feel how it, as the container is moving, the contents within are taken on a journey as well. And then slowly turn your attention to the contents within the container, to your inside, to your fluid content that you're carrying inside your body. As if the container has stopped and we turn our attention to the fluid within the container. And just feel whatever is moving on the inside. Feel all these cells inside your body which are swimming in fluid. Each of these cells know themselves, they know where they are, they know their position, they know what is their surroundings, and slowly they are settling in their place in this fluid environment they are swimming. The inside of every cell is fluid. And every cell is surrounded by a membrane. And then again, outside this membrane is also fluid. So try feeling this fluid which surrounds all the cells. Like your inner ocean, inner sea. Let it splash your insides. Feel how it's traveling surrounding all the cells throughout your whole body, inside your container, splashing the shores. And feel the difference between this subtle change, how it's different when we go to the center of our cells and feel the fluid inside the cell, and when we go to the outer fluid which surrounds the cells. And these two fluids, inside the cell and outside the cell, they are communicating. They are exchanging. So the cell is taking in the nutrients from the outside cell, and giving out the gases that it doesn't need anymore. So there's this flow of fluid into the cell and out of the cell, into the inner sea, into the outer sea, through the membrane. And just like a sponge that's dry, imagine immersing this sponge into the water, and the membrane of the sponge slowly softens, and water absorption starts, and the sponge starts filling up with water. Try finding whichever place in your body which needs a little bit more fluid, more juice. And just imagine that the membrane of these cells is becoming a little bit more permeable, drawing in fluid. Drawing in nourishing fluid that's filling up the cells. It can be wherever in your body. In this process, as you're traveling inside, you find the place where you want to give attention. And just allow this feeding process to last a little bit. To all these places that are a little bit dry or thirsty, like a dry sponge, to allow the opening of the membrane and fill up with fluid. Feel how tasty it is, how nourishing it can be. But also approach with gentleness, and if a certain place is a little bit shut off from the fluidity, we approach it with gentleness, with touch, with breath, so that the membrane can start feeling safe enough to soak in the fluid. And then also start experimenting a little bit with squeezing the sponge. Taking a certain place and applying a little pressure to it, as if we are squeezing the sponge and squeezing out the water. So the fluid is moving from the cell to the outer sea. And then just play with modulating these two polarities. Feel how it is to fill up with fluid, let the fluid in, and then let the fluid out. And these two phases, they occur in a certain rhythm. And play how much you can squeeze the sponge and then release the membrane and just let the fluid in. And feel how this pattern is happening throughout the whole body. It's happening on a level of an individual cell, but we can imagine as if our whole body is one cell swimming in the outer fluid of the space that surrounds us, and how it is to condense and squeeze out the fluid from the whole body cell, and then soften the membrane and allow the fluid to come into us from the space around us, the safe space that we created ourselves. So this sponging of fluid coming in, fluid coming out, and how this transition of the fluid through the membrane into the cell and through the membrane out of the cell, it can also take us into movement. And it can give us new opening of the space. Wherever we are too constricted, too condensed, gently playing with the fluids and allowing spaces and places to become more juicy and more free. And this whole time we have this presence of the intracellular fluid, and we have this outer sea of the interstitial fluid surrounding all the cells. When we squeeze the sponge, we condense. When we let the fluid into the sponge, we widen, expand. And this happens in a certain rhythm, in a certain pulsation of condensing, expanding. Even if you're not moving, you can feel this dance of fluids on the inside. When the container is motionless, the fluids are still moving on the inside, into the cell, out of the cell. And then we can allow these fluids and this exchange and this transition and this pulsation to move the container through the space. This inner sea, this interstitial fluid surrounding the cells like an ocean. It can travel in all kinds of unexpected directions. Just taking ourselves for a ride. And how good it feels to feel the fluids, to bring fluidity into all parts of our body, mind. Feel how this fluid also has weight, and it's in communication with the earth and the gravity. And this rhythm of pulsation, falling, rising, and then from the movement, if you want to come into presence, into stillness, then just again center in the cell, in the center of the cell. Just being, just breathing. Mm. Being with what is right now, with whatever is moving on the inside as a sensation or a thought or an emotion. One of the best definitions of embodiment from Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen was: embodiment is not what it's supposed to be, but what is. So how do we drop into presence, into feeling where we are, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, and just acknowledge it, just give it space. And from there, from that act of self-love and acceptance, already a change is happening as the fluids are flowing again, in and out, and in this cycle. You can gently open your eyes and just pay attention to the space around you. colors, the sounds. And giving us ourselves time to make a gentle transition and slowly end the exploration. Everyone in their own timing, no rush. And we use the last half of hour to share, contemplate